Sensitive channel where I like to talk about all things related to perfume. In particular, I like to do perfume reviews and share perfumes from my perfume collection. Today's video is a perfume collection video. According to Angel lately, nothing's really a collection until you have up to 7 items of that particular thing that you're collecting. And for this particular video, I have 6 Lancôme perfumes. So I'm pretty close to having a full-blown Lancôme perfume collection. So with that in mind, I decided to share them with you all and rank them for you all as well, letting you know which ones are my favorite and which ones are my least favorite. So if you're interested, then please stay tuned. Alrighty, so you're still here, so I assume you're interested. I assume this is the type of content you're into. So if that's the case, why don't you go ahead and subscribe if you're not subscribed. And if you're already subscribed, thank you. And as you continue to watch the video, and as you realize that you like it, just go ahead and hit the like button. So when it comes to ranking, the way I'm doing this for this video, my perspective in regards to ranking is ranking it from a combination of most enjoyable and most wearable. So basically, which ones am I most likely to wear, and also which ones do I just enjoy the most. But ultimately, I have all of these perfumes in my collection still because I enjoy all of them. So this isn't based on I hate this one and I love that one. I love all of them, but for different reasons. But even still, let's go ahead and do the ranking. So starting with my number 6 perfume. This perfume that's at the bottom, coincidentally or ironically, is also the most expensive. This is the Lancôme Maison perfume. It's from their Maison line, and this is Rose's Berberanza. So just talking about how expensive it is, it comes with this gold plating on the side. On the front, it has what's called an assemblage, I think. Yes, an assemblage, as well as the signature, which I think it just tells you what are the signature notes. And for this one, if I'm translating correctly, it's spices and pistachio. But again, this is Rose's Berberanza. It's at the bottom because it's the least wearable, even though it's the most expensive. The reason it's not so wearable is because initially on the opening, when you spray this, the smell is a bit potentially off-putting. Some people have described it as a sweaty smell. Other people have described it as smelling like feet or even body odor. And yes, when I first sprayed this, there's something in it that is a combination of dusty and potentially feet-like or body-like. And from what I've read, according to my research, it's the pistachio note. Pistachio is apparently a tricky note as far as translating it into perfume without it getting kind of weird and funky. But as this dries down, and I'll be honest with you, it takes a while for this dry down to happen fully, for it to get to the beautiful stage. But as it dries down, it eventually calms itself into smelling like a rosy, nutty, fruity, sweet, almost balmy and thick perfume. So because of that, that's ultimately why I became obsessed with this. I received it as part of my subscription to Scentbox when I was subscribed to them, and I still have an account with them in case I ever want to just order a decent sized sample of something that they have. But when I received this in my Scentbox collection, initially I didn't like it, honestly, but one day I wore it and let it dry down and fully experienced it, and I realized that by the middle of the wear, I really enjoyed this. But again, this is Rose's Berberanza. Is now discontinued, so that might be another reason that it's at the bottom, because it's hard to get, almost impossible to get. And if you do find it from a reseller, they're gonna charge you an arm and a leg just because it's discontinued. But ultimately, I still enjoy this one, but I don't pull it out of the drawer as much because of how hard it is to wear. As a quick note, as for those who do have it and maybe you struggle with is wearability. I find this more wearable when I layer Green Tea Nectarine Blossom by Elizabeth Arden on top. Those two together calms down that kind of feet-like smell, and it just becomes completely beautiful because the oranges and the citruses and the Elizabeth Arden perfume kind of takes over more, pulls out some of the oranginess in this perfume, makes it much more beautiful and wearable. Okay, my number 5 perfume on the list. This one is at number 5 just because of I don't see myself wearing this one a lot or very frequently. I'm trying to just pause when I stutter. I have a bit of a stuttering problem, and it makes it to where I have to edit my videos heavily to edit out the stuttering, but I'm trying to just pause when I feel myself about to stutter. So please bear with me, and I hope I get better at this with time. But as I continue, so the next one on the list is Tresor by Lancôme. And this is perfume number 5. I'm ranking this at number 5 out of 6. The reason I'm ranking it at number 5 is not because it's not wearable. It's actually very wearable, and I think this is probably an easy go-to perfume as an everyday perfume if you're someone who's looking for something that won't really offend people or bother people. But it's not as wearable to me because I tend to actually like my perfumes to be a bit more loud and to have more sillage and impact as far as taking over the room. This one is very soft in its wear. It doesn't take over the room, even though it carries a bit, it carries enough for people who are close to you. But essentially what this smells like to me is a peachy, rosy perfume. Of course it has other notes, but mainly what I pick up is the peachiness and the rosiness. That's what my nose picks up. And I also pick up some powderiness, which isn't surprising considering this was made, when this was made, it came out in the 1990s. Yes. So this is peachy, rosy, but I smell some other florals in here as well. It has Lily of the Valley, which might be why I don't wear this as much because I do not like Lily of the Valley. And I pick it up a bit in this, but overall I still like this because to me, this is a soft, sophisticated, subtle perfume. Good for days when you want to wear perfume, but you're not actually in the mood to be that overpowering or impactful. You want to be a bit more subtle and under the radar. I think this is the perfume you can wear because it just gives off a clean, like I said, peachy, rosy smell. It's feminine. I also think this one is great for a wedding day perfume if you're wanting something that's kind of airy and feminine and even innocent smelling. This one to me smells like a young bride in love. So even though it came out in the 90s, and I'm sure a lot of people will think of this as a mature scent because it's a bit dated in that sense. If you just get past your associations with 90s perfumes and just pay attention to the smell, what I get is a young bride in love. Okay, so now we are going to talk about perfumes 4, 3, 2, and 1. At this point, the perfumes are pretty much almost equal as far as how much I like them. Almost, because my number 1 perfume is very much number 1. It's very much there because it is my favorite in this entire collection. But as far as 2, 3, and 4, perfumes 2, 3, and 4, they're kind of close as far as how much I like them. But I was still able to rank them, and it actually wasn't that difficult. So next up for number 6, 5, 4, for the 4th perfume in my collection, this is Tresor Midnight Rose. And I actually really love this perfume. Like, at this point, we're talking about perfumes in the collection that I adore the most. Even though I love all of them, I really love this perfume. A lot of times, depending on the day you catch me, I might even say this is my favorite perfume because, you know, moods change and things like that. But what I like about this perfume, and I kind of hate that I'm using my arm as my testing medium because I'm already wearing the scent of the day that's quite strong, Alien Fusion. So I'm gonna have to scrub the rest of my body after this video is done. But what I like about this perfume is I like the jammy, rosy, berryness of this perfume. Berried as in B-E-R-R-I-E-D, not B-U-R-I-E-D. So the berryness, if you will. This one is really beautiful. It's similar to some perfumes I have in my collection already. If you like Angel Nova, but you want something that smells more purple than pink, then Tresor Midnight Rose is the perfume for you. Angel Nova is one of many perfumes that people claim is a dupe for Parfums de Marly's Delina perfume, or Delina exclusive. So this might even be in the same family as well, because it's so similar to Angel Nova to me. But basically, if you think about Angel Nova or Delina by Parfums de Marly, particularly Parfums de Marly's Delina exclusive, you think of like this very pink smell to it. A pink, strong, woody or oody type smell. Instead of being a pink, fruity, woody perfume, this is a purple, woody, fruity perfume with some florals as well. The florals in here are your it's your rose note. That's where the florals are coming from. So I think the rose note, because it's a darker flower combined with the fruit notes that are in here, they're darker fruits in here, that's what gives it more of that purple dark smell. So in that sense, it's really good for wearing in the colder season. It's really good for wearing in the colder season. Trying to remind myself to slow down, because that's what makes me stutter when I talk too fast. But what I like about this essentially is that honestly it's a compliment getter. It lasts all day. It has an amazing combination of freshness, fruitiness, sweetness, and woodiness. So I like that combination, and that's why it's one of my absolute favorite perfumes that I definitely try to keep in my collection. I used up my original bottle of this and I quickly replaced it. That's how much I like this. For number 3, we have La Nuit Tresor Parfum Caresse by Lancôme. So in the Lancôme collection, you originally had the Tresor collection, and then they came out with La Nuit Tresor, which was a flanker to Tresor. But now at this point, La Nuit Tresor is its own pillar, because there have been so many other iterations of the La Nuit Tresor perfumes. And this is La Nuit Tresor Caresse. This is another one that's discontinued. My apologies if that bothers some people. But I sincerely believe if you're not able to find this one, just look for any of the La Nuit Tresor perfumes and you may like one of those just as much, even though if you can't find this, you won't get to smell it to compare. But if you want something to compare it to, think of Miss Dior Absolutely Blooming. So Miss Dior Absolutely Blooming is a perfume I very much considered adding to my collection, because that's another one that I received in my subscription to scent box. And whenever I wore it, I got compliments. People loved it. But oddly enough, after an hour, I could not smell it. I just had to take people's word, because other people were like, oh wow, you smell really good. And they would say this before I even reached down. Like I remember I was meeting a friend for lunch. I got there first and I was already sitting down. She walked in and I think she was about 4 feet from me, and she was like, you smell good. So that's how much that one carried. And because of that, I thought about getting it, even though I go blind to it. But then I saw this, and when I looked it up, I saw that a lot of people compared it to Miss Dior Absolutely Blooming. So I immediately bought it, even though I hadn't smelled it, because it was at a discounters, and you know how they do, they box things up to prevent people from stealing. But once I got home and smelled it, I pretty much agreed that this is very similar to Miss Dior Absolutely Blooming. But what I like about it is that it has the same projection and lasting power, but I can still smell it for a longer time. So this one, in comparison to Miss Dior Absolutely Blooming, is actually sweeter or more candied. The Miss Dior Absolutely Blooming, I think, is the more floral version. This one is the more candied version. So this one takes Miss Dior Absolutely Blooming, the overall scent and pushes it more towards being a gourmand. So that's another way to think of it as far as comparing it to other perfumes. But in this one, I get the raspberry, I get some of those sweet gourmand type notes, and I just get like I get some creaminess as well, but it's not the creaminess of everything I'm talking about today. Just to reiterate, it's basically, to me, to my nose, a floral fruity gourmand. So that's why I like it as far as the smell, but I also love its performance. So that's why it made it to number 3, because it performs really well. If I were to talk about performance, I would say Rose's Berberanza is one of the ones that lasts until you scrub it off, but towards the middle of its wear is closer to the skin. Tresor, I would say lasts 8 hours, but it wears softly. It doesn't project very far. Tresor Midnight Rose, it lasts, I would say, 8 hours, and it projects pretty far the whole time. And then La Nuit Tresor Caresse, I'm gonna say it lasts probably over 8 hours. I'm thinking more like 9 or 10 hours, and it projects and carries for about 7 of those hours. And then after that, it's closer to the skin, but people still can smell it when they get a little close to you. Alrighty, so now we're at number 2 and number 1. So my number 2 perfume in my Lancôme perfume collection, I am at 16 minutes. Okay, so my number 2 perfume in my Lancôme perfume collection is Vie Est Belle L'eclat. So no surprise that in ranking some Lancôme perfumes, a Vie Est Belle perfume pretty much is close to the top of the list. This one I enjoy because it has that Vie Est Belle DNA, but it does it in a way that I can enjoy and handle. The original Vie Est Belle, after a while, I get sick of it. If I actually wear that perfume, I would say within an hour, I want to scrub it off because it's very intense, very sweet, almost cloying, almost makes me a little sick. I think that one has praline in it, and I think the praline note may be just done too intensely for me as far as what my nose picks up. But this, instead of being a praline or sugar bomb, it's an orange blossom bomb. So for some people, orange blossom can actually be a turn off. This is why some people don't like this flanker, but to me, I love it. If you love orange blossom and you kind of like La Vie Est Belle, but you wish it wasn't so intense on the sweet notes, then La Vie Est Belle L'eclat is for you. Now this one, I just got finished talking about lasting power for the other ones. This one lasts a long time and it performs well. The projection on this is intense, but it works to me because the overall smell isn't cloying like the original La Vie Est Belle. As far as the way this smells, what this smells like, whenever I smell this, I think of a sparkling, effervescent, orangey champagne. Not orangey in the sense of actual orange juice, but I guess more like a fruity orange champagne. If you had a fruity champagne and they somehow incorporated orange and citrus notes, and you could smell the bubbles and you could smell the effervescence, you could smell, I guess, everything kind of popping and sizzling together when you pull the cork off the bottle. That's what I think of when I smell this. And that's why I love it so much. It's very feminine, very pretty, very beautiful. This would be a wedding day perfume for me. I said Tresor is what I think of when I think of a young bride in love. I think this one is more for me as a more mature bride. I'm gonna be turning 40 soon. And so if I were to get married soon, this is probably a perfume that will be on my top 2 list as I'm thinking about perfumes to wear on my wedding day. All right, so we're at number 1. My number 1 perfume in my Lancôme collection is La Vie Est Belle Soleil Cristal. I love this perfume. I adore this perfume. It's easy to wear. If I felt like it, I could wear it every day. If I didn't have so many perfumes and say I just had 7 or 6 perfumes, like if this was my entire collection, I would probably wear this one a lot. This one would probably be one of my everyday perfumes. But honestly, I would wear the Tresor more just because it smells more workable for the work environment. If you work in an office or in the classroom, like I do, I work in a classroom. But if I were just going off by what I love the most, I would probably wear this one every day. This one is La Vie Est Belle, but softer on the La Vie Est Belle-ness and more beautiful on the ylang ylang and coconutty notes. This, oh my goodness, is so beautiful. It has some of that same effervescence that I love in La Vie Est Belle L'eclat, but it's creamier and it's more of the florals that I like. The La Vie Est Belle L'eclat is intense on the orange blossom. This one is more amped up in regards to the ylang ylang, the coconut, and even some of the white florals that are in here. But 3, 2, I'm sorry, not 3, 2, 1, because I'm not editing today. In my other videos, if I feel myself about to stutter or make a mistake, I pause and I go 3, 2, 1, because I know then, okay, cut it off here when I'm editing. But I'm not gonna edit, I'm just gonna upload the full video. So I apologize for the nervousness because I'm trying to just get myself used to being able to talk straight through without giving in to my nerves and my tendency to stutter. Anyway, I done forgot what I was saying. But essentially, what I love about this one is in relation to everything that I tend to love when it comes to perfume. I love white florals. I love ylang ylang, especially when it's mixed with white florals. I am starting to realize that I also love ylang. I said that already, but I love coconut. So when I have a perfume like I have with this one that mixes white florals, ylang ylang, and coconut, and the coconut doesn't smell cheap, it doesn't smell synthetic, it actually smells soft enough to not smell tropical, then that's why I love this one so much. And of course, in regards to the lasting power and the projection, top notch. That's why I probably love Lancôme perfume so much, because 9 times out of 10, a Lancôme perfume is going to perform. If I were to tell someone to just go in the store, blind purchase a perfume, if that's what they had to do, if that was the assignment, Allison, I have to go in the store and just blind purchase a perfume. I need something that's going to perform well. What should I do? I'd be like, get a Lancôme perfume. And I would hope, or I would encourage them to look at the La Vie Est Belle range, but consider one of the flankers, because I love the flankers more than I love the pillar. Alrighty, thank you guys so much for watching and for bearing with me and being patient with me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, then please let me know in the comments below. Alrighty.